Emily Seidel is about to join us. She's the CEO for Americans for Prosperity. In fact, let's bring her into the conversation now. Emily, it's great having you on the program. Great to see you. And I'm so impressed by the work that Americans for Prosperity is doing on behalf of Americans who are struggling with Bidenomics. We all know that, frankly, the economy, inflation, that's what ought to be front and center tonight. And to that end, AFP is going to run an ad that's going to air, I believe, during the debate or around the debate, certainly on Fox Business Network and Fox News Channel. Let's share the Americans for Prosperity ad with everybody as we kick off our conversation. All right, sorry, we got it somewhere. I promise. I guarantee you, cut number one. It's got to be around. Here it goes. Let's. This is the ad from Americans for Prosperity. Do we have it, guys?
Ronald Reagan used to ask, "Are you better off today than you were before?" Sadly, for most Americans, the answer is no. We know that because at Americans for Prosperity, we talk with them every day.
Bidenomics is crushing us.
I can't keep up with the rising cost of everything.
This country is on the wrong track.
We can do better, but we must focus on solving the issues that matter most. With new leadership and fresh ideas, we can reignite the American dream.
You know, Emily, that's such a powerful message because it's what Americans need to hear. I think it's what Americans are craving, somebody to give a solution to this economic mess that we are in. And thanks to this grassroots effort on Americans for Prosperity's part, more and more people are focused like a laser on how to get the job done. So first of all, kudos to the great work that AFP is doing in that front.
Well, thank you very much. And thanks for having me on. I agree that it's what Americans need to hear. It's also what we're hearing from Americans. We've been knocking on the doors and calling the homes of so far 4.6 million Republican voters across the country. And with that ad, we just wanted to share back what we're hearing from them in a way that hopefully calls on, candidates on the debate stage tonight and lawmakers in Washington right now to focus on these issues, the issues that we're hearing matter most to Americans right now, and actually step forward with some solutions. That's what people are looking for.
I've invited our audience to support Americans for Prosperity because your grassroots efforts are as impressive as anything I've ever seen. So far, Americans for Prosperity has talked to 4.6 million voters through phone calls or just good old-fashioned door knocks. What's the message that your folks are hearing from all of those millions of Americans that you're connecting with?
Well, it's pretty impressive. 55% of the people that we've spoken to so far name inflation as their top issue. And we've never seen that kind of focus on a specific issue at this point in a cycle. No other issue. I mean, there are a lot of other really important issues out there, but no other issue is even cracking the 10% mark. And so that tells you something, right? The Biden economic agenda is crushing families across the country. And that's what we're hearing far and away the most at the doors and on the phones.
You know, I'm going to throw a curveball at you because you've been at this a long time. You've spent really decades working in policy and politics. I've been at this a long time as well as a broadcaster. I've never seen anything like this in terms of what appears to be the intentional destruction of our economy. And I want to pick your brain for a moment, Emily. I want to see if you agree with me that this does not seem to be accidental. Is it a stretch to say that these awful policies that are crushing small business owners, that are hurting farmers, that are hurting the middle class, do you think these are well-intentioned but misguided policies, or is it indeed intentional damage?
I mean, that's a great question. I like to hope that people run for public office to try to serve their communities and just make bad choices sometimes. But at this point, you really need to start asking. I mean, as we're talking to folks across the country, for instance, there's a 71-year-old man that we just talked to in Colorado who's retired, who has to come out of retirement to continue to be able to live support his wife and his niece who lives with him. We had a grocery store event in Wisconsin where we were giving out $25 gift cards to the grocery store as we were talking to people about the cost of all of this rampant government spending that's been driving inflation and what they can do about it, what their voices can do to try to drive change in the public policy arena. And one woman said that because of that $25 gift card, she didn't have to choose between a portion of her grocery list and diapers for the week for her family. I mean, these are the choices that people are having to make across the country, and they're very frustrated.
No, and that frustration, I hear it every single day on the show as well. Emily Seidel, who's the CEO of Americans for Prosperity, is visiting with us here on the Mike Gallagher Show. You can go to americansforprosperity.org and support this very impressive organization that is moving the needle. A lot of Americans know what matters. I like to talk. I use the late great Charles Krauthammer's book title often on my show, Things That Matter. Buying diapers matter. How to pay for the groceries matters. There's going to be a lot tonight, and Americans for Prosperity matters. So go to americansforprosperity.org to support this very important organization. Emily, there's going to be a lot of distractions over the next 18 months. We're going to see all kinds of drama. There's a lot of drama about who's on the debate stage tonight, who's not on the debate stage, what's going to be talked about, what's not going to be talked about. Are you worried that those distractions are going to water down what ought to be the alternative vision that we need to get the country back on track? Are you worried that some of the drama is going to overshadow this crucial message that we have to stay on point and focus on how to get this country back on the right track economically?
I don't think so, and here's why. Because we've been talking with voters across the country, and they are focused. They're focused on listening for what the candidates will do to address the top concerns that they've got. They're wondering, is this crisis of affordability of life, is this the new normal? They want to know what people are going to do to shed the problems of Bidenomics and get our country back on track. And so my advice to candidates would be to recognize that those are the people that you're talking to. Don't get distracted by all of the rest of this and focus on the failure of Bidenomics and your solutions as candidates for public office to get back on track.
So when I invite my audience to support Americans for Prosperity by going to americansforprosperity.org, I want to make sure we get into the nuts and bolts of what it is you do, because from where I sit, there is no group in America that connects to the grassroots like you do. Talk about the activists you have in all 50 states and what Americans for Prosperity is specifically doing to grow that army and how our audience can help.
So Americans for Prosperity is the largest national grassroots organization that works to advance public policy that's focused on what I talk about as the core principles of freedom and opportunity for every American. And a lot of people ask me, what does that mean to be a national grassroots organization? Well, it means we've built 36 state chapters so far, and we're growing. We've got activists, as you said, in all 50 states. And we work in communities to make sure that people's voices are heard by their lawmakers, whether that's at the state level on critical items of importance to what's happening in your state, whether it's K-12 education reform or anything else, or at the federal level, and specifically looking at how we're going to get our country back on track from the failed Biden agenda. But our whole goal is to make it possible for good policy to be good politics, so that we can actually get things done that reignite the American dream. And it's all about elevating the voices of Americans to the folks that they've elected to drive that change.
This is what it's about. And every single day people say to me, what can I do? How can, I mean, it's one thing to complain about these destructive policies, but it's another thing to take action. Emily Seidel, it seems to me, 40 plus years I've been sitting in front of a microphone. I have never felt a stronger urge to tell everybody, you got to get off the sidelines. You cannot be passive anymore, because frankly, the country's at stake. I don't think that's rhetoric. I don't think that's hyperbole. Do you?
No, not at all. Last cycle, I met this wonderful man up in Pennsylvania who said he was watching TV and he saw one of our commercials, and he said, I'm going to stop complaining to my friends about what's happening in our country. I'm going to get off my duff and do something about it. And he came
Yeah.
and started knocking doors with Americans for Prosperity and AFP Action, which is a super PAC. Together, last cycle, we were in 457 races across the country. We knocked on more than 7 million doors. We reached tens of millions of voters through phone calls and emails and mail pieces. We're going to do that and more this election cycle. And no matter where you are in the country, if you want to get involved, we've got somebody that can help you get involved.
Listen, to learn all about AFP, to join their army, and it is an impressive army indeed, just go to americansforprosperity.org, americansforprosperity.org. Emily Seidel, thank you for spending some time joining us, and we'll be looking forward to seeing your ad tonight on the debate. I'm glad we gave our listeners and our viewers a sneak peek.
Sneak peek, that's right. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Emily. Appreciate it.